Cougar Sports Saturday. Kyle Ireland alongside Mitch Harper. We are, what is it, Mitch? Just under 8 hours until kick between BYU and Stanford.
And I'm optimistic, too, that there won't be a slide for this game because the game before BYU and Stanford includes a military academy, Army and K-State. So maybe, fingers crossed, we don't get the, signature, hey, the game is being slid to ESPN News. It kicks off at 8:25. Maybe Army will get that thing shrunk quick, and we get that thing started at 8:15, 8:17, and we're on time. Fingers crossed. Maybe I'm getting too optimistic and hoping for a Christmas miracle to not have a slide because typically these 8:15 games always, unofficially bank on it being 8:25. And then it starts on ESPN News.
And then we don't go to bed until 3 a.m. That's really how it ends up, too.
Yeah, typically, because then you got to replay it. You're just so energized. You get done with the game, and you're like, I got to rewatch it. It's just what you're wired to do.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the crowd looks like, too, after last week. They had, a record crowd, biggest crowd at LaVell Edwards Stadium since 2009 when TCU came in. And this game, I think more fans are going to stay later than they would for an 8:15 kick just because they're excited to see Bear Bachmeier.
Well, and I think, with Bear Bachmeier, and to your point about staying later, I think an underrated piece to that is that fans that attend, because that was a big talking point last week, was they're still here and it's 69-0. I think they want to see the fire knives in that third quarter to fourth quarter transition. Like, it's a thing. BYU win or lose, it's kind of this spectacle, like, oh, what's Cosmo going to do? I can then flex it on the gram and throw it on my TikTok and gain clout and look cool because I was right there. Oh, I see this fire knife twirling and it's awesome. Oh, I'm eating this cougar claw. Oh, I'm doing this. Like, there's so many things that give you aura, that give you clout as an influencer at BYU games, and then you pair it up with good football. Then you pair it up with all the lights, the craziness. Like, BYU football is a thing, and that's why people are staying from start to finish. There was someone that would post on X today, haven't been to a BYU football game since 2019, has it changed? Now, he was being sarcastic, but he really has. And I thought that was interesting because 2019 is when I started here at KSL, and you were at KSL too at 2019. From then to now, it's night and day difference. The atmosphere at BYU is pretty impressive, and even Kalani Sitake praised the fans after that memorable crowd last week, which was the biggest since 2009 for BYU football.
The biggest highlight for me as a head coach and for our program was the fans. We keep talking about it. I keep hearing the players talk about it in the locker room after the game, and even today you can hear the buzz going around about how amazing our fans were. I mean, school's not even in session yet, and the Rock was amazing, and so seeing the student section and all the fans and everybody supported, and they're loud too, so that was really impressive, man, to have that type of atmosphere since 2009, I was told. So that's super special. So just want to let the fans know how much we love and appreciate them, and they have been big time since I remember being part of the fan base when I was a little boy. So it's nice to see them out doing their things and making noise for us.
Yeah, it was a good crowd last week. It was an awesome crowd at LaVell Edwards Stadium. It kind of blew me away when I saw that stat that it was the biggest crowd since 2009. I just thought, wow, that can't be, but sure enough, it was. And what a spectacle, and I expect nothing less tonight as it's a sold-out crowd for BYU and Stanford. And Kalani will be operating the east sideline. On the west sideline will be interim head coach Frank Reich. And Kyle, you had the chance to hop in that press conference with Coach Reich, and
my former head coach.
NFL coach. Yeah, you're an Indianapolis Colts fan.
Yeah, I'm an Indianapolis guy. Colts. Loved talking to Frank Reich earlier this week. It was fun, and it's interesting. I mentioned, this BYU fan base still has a lot to learn about Bear Bachmeier. Frank Reich, he's familiar with this quarterback after seeing Bear Bachmeier and his brother Tiger during spring ball, and I had the chance to talk with Frank earlier this week, and this is what he had to say about his impressions of Bear from spring practices and then also from BYU's opener.
Yeah, my impressions of him were very positive. And yeah, just from looking at the film and watching the game, some of it on television, he's an explosive athlete, has a strong arm, is a threat to run the ball. So kind of figured that having a little bit of that QB run game would be in there with him, and he's got an explosive arm as well.
I also asked Frank about Bear winning the starting job with BYU, and was like, hey, Frank, were you surprised to see Bear win the job after transferring from Stanford to BYU? And Frank Reich said that he wasn't surprised. He said that Bear's a super talented player. He saw that in the few short weeks that he was with him at Stanford on the football field. That'll be a fun matchup tonight to see, the fact that there's a lot of connections, Mitch, between these two programs. They don't have a lot in common, but there are some similarities and there's some, recruiting ties between these two programs.
It's a great point because it is just kind of tongue-in-cheek and funny. Yes, they're both higher education, higher learning entities, but really, when you think culturally, there's not many similarities between BYU and Stanford. These two programs never met on the gridiron until 2003, and I just think that, but it is cool to see this matchup because, these two have had so many battles on the recruiting trail for year after year, particularly in the 2010s, and now it feels like BYU is, on equal ground and taking it to a higher level, whereas Stanford was kind of left in the wilderness for a little bit before finding a landing spot in the ACC. We'll hear more from Frank Reich coming up a little bit later this show, but coming up next, you'll hear from BYU quarterback Bear Bachmeier. Had a one-on-one conversation with the starting signal caller, and you'll hear it next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.